Today, we will explore several different variations of a build to create aluminum scrap, which I call the 1, 2, 3 builds for aluminum scrap. So aluminum scrap, as we see on the conveyor belt below, is an incredibly important item because it paves the way for making aluminum ingots, which then is made into alkyd aluminum sheets. And alkyd aluminum sheets are one of the most important late game items because, amongst other things, they are used for making Mark V belts. So 1 stands for 1 aluminum scrap refinery facing west, as we see here, and then 2 stands for 2 water extractors with the output facing west again. 3 stands for 3 alumina solution refineries with the outputs facing east. So why do we have this 180-degree rotation? Why do we have 1, 2, 3? Let's explore that. So this aluminum scrap refinery takes in 240 alumina solution per minute, 60 petroleum coke per minute, and outputs 60 water per minute, as well as 360 aluminum scrap per minute. So one of the difficulties here is needing to be able to deal with this water output, because if we don't deal with the water output, this thing's going to back up and the whole system will not work anymore. So let's think about how we can deal with this by dealing with first the alumina solution. It's kind of a bit of a strange backwards thing, but let's deal with it. So 240 alumina solution per minute. Let's see how much 1 alumina solution refinery makes. Well, it makes 80 per minute for alumina solution from 70 bauxite and 100 water per minute. So that means 3 of these alumina solution refineries will do the job, because 3 times 80 is 240. So that's perfectly nice. So the reason why we have 3 alumina solutions refineries is that they will feed 1 aluminum scrap refinery perfectly. So now let's think about the water problem. So as we pointed out before, there's a 60 output from this aluminum scrap refinery. Now let's think about what we need for inputs. So 1 refinery of alumina solution requires 100 water, so 3 times 100 is 300, which is exactly what 1 water pipe will do. Well, the nice thing about all of this is that 1 water extractor makes 120 water per minute, so 2 times that is 240. So 240 plus 60 water gives exactly 300 water, which is why we have this backwards rotation thing. So the output of the aluminum scrap facing one direction goes into the input of the alumina solution, so the output water can just go feed directly into the alumina solution, as well as the water from the water extractor. So that's why this feedback loop is particularly nice. You can just build it quite easily, and similarly the alumina solution will just come from the outputs of these alumina solution refineries directly into the input of the aluminum scrap refineries. So this orientation is particularly nice for this feedback system. Furthermore, one building note to remember is that there are several different ways to build these guys, these pipeline junction crosses, at a height. So one way is to just simply build these guys directly onto the pipes. So as you can see, this guy was a little bit kind of awkward, so we'll redo this again, but you kind of see the idea. Just like this. Another way to do this is that you can remove the pipe ends and you could just put a pipeline junction cross directly onto the end. This allows you to measure things better as long as you can put the pipeline exactly at the edge. And the third one, which is my favorite method, is to simply just stack it onto a wall. Snap it onto a wall. So you can see like this, we can build these pipeline junction crosses very quickly and have them be exactly aligned. So this is the method that I tend to use when we build these type of pipeline junctions, but you find the one that you prefer, the one that you like to work with best. So in any case, this is the 1, 2, 3 build for aluminum scrap, and we can just basically stop there. But let's dissect this a little bit more and understand the pros and cons. So the pros is that we are using exactly the 100% efficiencies of each one of these refineries. As we see here, this is the standard recipe with exactly 100% efficiency on all of these guys. So that's definitely a pro. Another pro is that just the numbers just work out well. For example, here we didn't quite talk about the silica, but in the later video we'll talk about why this silica over here balances out perfectly when we have, you know, 20 silica per minute that gets output. For now, we're just going to send all the silica into a sink, and that we can just kind of ignore. The thing is right on top of the silica is this thing called petroleum coke, and that's kind of like the one major drawback to this, which is that this recipe requires petroleum coke, which, as we see here, is created from heavy oil residue. And heavy oil residue is an oil product. So some people may not want to use oil, or they may not have the oil for this type of build, and that can be a bit of a hassle. So as you can see here, everything is perfect except for the fact that we have to use oil. So you can take it or leave it. If you like it, perfect. This thing is a really, really great build that allows you to make it completely modular. You simply copy and paste this 1, 2, 3 build everywhere. So if you want to try something that does not require an oil product, let's explore an alternative build. Alright, so let's turn off this build with the smart splitter. And then let's turn on the next build. As we can see here, it is again a 1, 2, 3 build. 1 aluminum scrap refinery over there with the output facing west, 2 water extractors with the output facing west, and 3 alumina solutions with the outputs facing east. Let's activate this guy and let's discuss this thing. Oops. So left output, let's activate this and let's take a look. So the big pro of this guy is that we are using what's called the electrode aluminum scrap recipe, which only requires coal, which is much nicer to get. You can get coal everywhere. For example, in this location on the map, there's a coal node right here, which is kind of why we're doing the tutorial right here on the map. There's a bauxite node right here, there's a coal node right here, there's oil, so we can do all of the things that we need over here, and there's tons of water. So in any case, there's a coal node right over just beyond that scaffolding. You can kind of see the miner right there, and there's a bauxite node just behind the hill. In any case, we have coal, which is perfectly nice and easy to create, and that is definitely a boon over the petroleum coke. Another thing to notice is that we're overclocking this guy to 240%, which is kind of a weird number as compared to just 100%, which is 150 output per minute. Let's see why we do 240. First of all, 240 gives us an output of 360 aluminum scrap per minute, which, as you may recall, was exactly the output from the standard recipe. So we're not actually losing any sort of output in this modular build. So that's nice. What's even better is that the alumina solution is less than the 240 that we saw in the standard build. The standard build required a little bit more. So here, this is actually exactly 90% of 240, because 0.9 times 240 is 216. So you can kind of guess what these guys will be underclocked to. You guessed right, it's exactly 90%. So we're actually using 90% of the bauxite to create the exact same amount of aluminum scrap, which is wonderful. So let's think about what the water situation is now. So we have three of these guys, three of these aluminum solution refineries at 90% efficiency, requiring 90 water each. So that means we require 270 water to make all three of these guys run at full efficiency. Now let's take a look at the excess from this guy. It's 72 water per minute, so we need an extra 198 because 198 plus 72 is 270. Well, one of the nice things about this is that 198 is less than 240, so we can just simply underclock these water extractors to do what we need. So here's a kind of a weird number, and let me explain the percentages. There's an 82%, which is a 98.4, and then as we'll see over here, there's an 83% at 99.6. So first of all, 99.6 plus 98.4 does give us the 198 water per minute that we want. So that's perfectly nice. So the question is well, why don't we just say, delete this, go to 99, and we'll all be happy, right? Well, the thing is let's remember this, and let's click back on. You see, these guys actually, for now, operate at the integer percentage of clock speed rather than any sort of target production rate. As we saw, if we typed in 99, it gives you clock speed of 82, but it actually uses, at the end of the day, the 82% clock speed, which is 98.4. So we're working by these strange percentages. So that's why we have the 82 and 83. So 82%, 83%, it gives you exactly the kind of the middle ground that you need to get 198. So just a weird quirk. This might get fixed in the future and we will never have to speak of it again. So you can target production rate, clock speed, but we're actually working with the clock speed integer percentages. So that's a little bit of a weird quirk, quirk. But otherwise, this is exactly a 1, 2, 3 build. And all the numbers, again, work out exactly the same. Well, in the sense that we're at full efficiency, and then the build is exactly the same. You see, we have these reverse builds. The output of the aluminum scrap, it gives you the water, which then goes feedback into these alumina solution guys. And it's the same exact setup over there. So it's, again, something you could just, make modular, and you just build this again and again and again. So what's nice about all of this is that we're not using petroleum coke, we're using coal. The downside is we have to overclock this guy if we want to do a true 1, 2, 3 build. So some people may not want to overclock, and some people may not have the power charge to overclock, especially if we're doing if we're making this on a big scale. If we're making 10 of these guys, you'll need 30 of these power charge, which is a little bit expensive. So the other thing sometimes people might be concerned about is the power consumption. When we overclock, it's super linear. So 240% uses way, way, way more than 240% of the power. And one thing to just note is that we are not using any sort of oil products. So those oil refineries over there would not be used in this guy. So we are kind of saving a little bit of power there, and we're saving a decent amount of power here with the underclocking. So it kind of balances out, not exactly perfectly. So the one way to deal with all this, if people are concerned with the power problem, is to divide 240% into 3 times 80%. So just imagine for a second, this guy broken into 3 different refineries. Well, remember, there's 3 different refineries here. So what if we just paired one of these guys with one of these guys, right? So that would just make things really nice in terms of this reverse flow type situation. And that's exactly what we have here. This is it's a 233 build. It's 2 water extractors, 3 aluminum scrap refineries, and 3 alumina solution refineries. And you can see here, they're built exactly the same. These guys, and these guys. It's completely modular in that way. And let's explore what's going on. Alright, let's turn off this guy, this smart splitter, and let's turn on the smart splitter down there. And then let's explore how this thing works. Okay, so as you can guess, since clock speed and production rate is a linear correlation, we have exactly everything working as before, in the sense that 80% being 1/3 of 240 requires 72 alumina solution, which is exactly the same 90% that we saw in the previous variation of this build. So as you can see here, everything just perfectly lines up, and there's 3 of these guys, and they're just copied again and again. And the only thing that's slightly different is the water intake system. As you can see here, I kind of built this, and I'll build this again. So one way you can do this again is to do the pipeline junction cross right there, and then build the pipeline. So that is this excess water coming from this aluminum scrap refinery, just going into the aluminum solution refinery, and then there's the water that's coming in from those water extractors over there. So that's the only difference. Other than that, everything else is basically the same. Those water extractors, you can take my word for it, are at 82% and 83%. And then we'll have 90%, 80%, 90%, 80%, 90%, 80% of the alumina solution and aluminum scrap refineries. So that's basically that. There's really not too much in it once you kind of realize that these type of builds are actually very, very modular, and they can be infinitely sustained with this type of feedback system. I guess one final tip that I want to leave you with is to keep in mind all of the different items that we are using and put them on different levels. So here we actually have 6 different items to work with. So there's bauxite, there's aluminum scrap that we see there, there's silica, and depending on which recipe you're using, let me fly up here and show you, you'll either be using coal or petroleum coke over there. So that's already 4 solid items. And then for fluids, you have alumina solution as well as water. So there's 6 different guys, and that can be kind of a headache. But the thing is as long as you put them on different levels, it'll make your life a lot easier. So for example, the bauxite is on the 1st level, aluminum scrap is on the 2nd level, the water is on the 3rd level. Oops, falling off. This guy is on the 4th level, the silica is on the 4th level, and the coal is on the 5th level. And then the alumina solution can just be on the 1st level because, these guys are neighbors. So you can just stick the alumina solution output from the aluminum solution refinery into the aluminum scrap refinery. Since there's neighbors, everything's nice and easy. So that's that. So if you like this build, let me know. If you want to see other type of explanations or tutorials, let me know. And if you want to just chat, let me know as well. So I stream regularly on Twitch. I'm also going to be posting lots of different tutorial builds on YouTube. And so if you want to chat with me here on YouTube or on Twitch, feel free. I also have a Discord and a Twitter. All of the things will be in the links. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Thank you again. Have a lovely day. Bye bye now.